Good afternoon, everybody. For reasons only the organisers can imagine, they've given me 45 minutes to talk to you, which seems a ridiculous thing to do. I've been married twice. I've got 3 daughters. I barely get the chance to finish a sentence at home. So to have 45 minutes without interruption is just a beguiling thought. So I'll do my best. And people are already smiling. I've got you on side already. There's a guy down the front. He just said to me he knows much more about returns than me. My simple response was, why didn't they ask you to speak then? It seems like an obvious oversight, but if you'll allow me, I will do my best to try and reverse what we've said. So we've tried to make an eye-catching title to fill all the chairs. Clearly that hasn't worked, but it's an eye-catching title nonetheless. So returns are here to stay. Are there a way to give you a competitive edge? Can you do something about returns that helps you to differentiate and make yourself more successful rather than just being a nuisance that has to be dealt with? I suppose I do have to establish my right to speak, and I suppose part of it is I do work for Quadient. We changed our name about 4 years ago from Nearpost. Nearpost is probably more familiar to people that are around the business world for a long time. It's our centenary next year. We've been around for a very long time, mainly in the mailroom side, which is the central pillar of our business. We're still about 60% as a mailroom business, making franking machines, folding machines, all kind of mailroom stuff. We also have the Intelligent Communication Automation division, which is really the software version of the mailroom. It's the digitization of a lot of the transactional type mail that used to go through the mailroom. And the youngest and newest part of the business, and currently the smallest part, although rapidly growing, is the Smart Parcel Locker division, and that's the bit that I work in. So, just spoiler alert, I'm going to talk about parcel lockers quite a lot during the course of this presentation. It's mentioned earlier that we have a fairly established parcel locker business. So we have over 18,000. In fact, I saw the latest report on Friday. We're at 18,500 locker installations worldwide. So that's not locker doors, that's individual locations. So if you multiply that by an average of 40, 50, 60 doors per site, we've got literally hundreds of thousands into the sort of almost 1 million locker doors. We have a huge open network in Japan, which has been running for about 7 years. By open, we mean agnostic. It's shared by multiple carriers. We have a huge North American business in both USA and Canada. Quadient acquired the parcel pending business about 4 years ago, and our main business there is providing lockers into multifamily, corporate, and higher education facilities. So whenever you see a huge, fancy, skyscraping apartment block, there will be a locker bank in the lobby to help the delivery and processing of parcels going into that high occupancy building. We've sold about 7,000 of those, and we install north of 120 every month. This is part and parcel of everyday life in the US, is to have these lockers installed. We also have a big retail business in the US, which is with Lowe's, who are a DIY chain similar to B&Q or Homebase or bricolage, I think is the French word. So back into the subject at hand. Why are returns important? Well, I can let you read the bullet points, and I'm sure literally every one of them will be familiar to you already. There's nothing really new there. As I said, I've got 3 daughters. My 3 daughters are kind of like the best test bed of this theory, that they are kind of trainee shoppers. I don't know if you're familiar with the concept of a trainee shopper. It's like a real shopper, but they spend your money. So it's a very slightly different concept. So when I ask them, what would make you shop with a brand you don't know? What would make you try a store that you're unfamiliar with? And all 3 of them independently said, if they've got free returns, I'll take a chance. I might not know the brand, I might not know the quality, I might not know the delivery experience, but all of that risk, as well as it being my money, not theirs, is mitigated by, if it all goes badly wrong, the worst thing that can happen is I have to send it back. And that's why returns are so important. I know they're a menace, and the proliferation of them costs everybody here a lot of money, but that's why they're important. It's a way of getting yourself in front of a consumer when they're not sure whether to deal with you or not. They might be familiar with the brands they buy every day, but if they're not familiar, you need to take that pain away. And the free returns proposition is absolutely vital for that. And as I said, returns just want it to go away. Again, I don't need to tell you any of the reasons why returns are a pain. They're really, really expensive. I saw a stat, I think it was last Thursday online. In the US, the value of returned goods in the US last year was $162 billion. $162 billion. It's over 16% of all of e-commerce in the States. E-commerce in the States has just tripped over 1 trillion for the first time in history. To put that into context, the GDPR of Germany is about that. That it's literally, that's how huge this problem is. And if 16% of it's coming back, and as well as the processing costs and the return costs and the shipping costs, is what do I do with the stuff when I get it back? Do I have to write it down? Do I have to discount it? If it goes into a store, will it be resold? If it goes back into the warehouse, can it be reliably repicked on time to make any kind of recovery from that money at all? So it is an absolutely huge problem. I can't solve all that problem. The bit we're focused on is how do we make it so that we look at this group of people that returns are important to them and make it as pain-free as possible, so that even if some part of that experience with you has been not positive and then you have to make a return, that return in itself is a positive and can therefore drive hopefully a repeat sale. As I said, for every billion spent, 166 are sent back. And you mentioned Japan earlier. Actually, it's a really interesting anecdote from Japan. 20% of online orders are returned pretty much in the Western world. But the figure for the States and for Europe is broadly similar. Germany's a bit higher because you have a post-pay culture. You're not always paying up front with a credit card. Sometimes you get to pay afterwards. There is a big clothing retailer that I've worked with in the past in some categories in Germany. They have 85% return rate. People buy 6 things and send 5 back and keep 1. This is called bracketing. Are we all familiar with the term bracketing? Bracketing is where you buy 3 sizes. You buy the size you think you are, the size you want to be, and the size you actually end up keeping. These are 3 very, very unique and different sizes. So why do we think lockers help? Well, I think there's well-established use for lockers for click and collect. So we have lots of organisations that are putting lockers in there so you can order online and pick stuff in store. Click and collect is super popular in the UK. Companies like Marks & Spencer, Next, over half of their online orders are now collected back in the store. So people have made the effort to shop online, but they're still willing, normally for economic reasons, to avoid the delivery cost or something else, to go and pick it up in store. For some of them, this is now a 9-digit number of parcels that are being ordered online. This is over 100 million parcels. Half of them are going into their stores, and they're creating huge backlogs. And then if you've then got 20% of that coming back as well, you've now got a huge amount of people coming in and out of stores that aren't looking at merchandise, that aren't interacting with very, very well-paid, very expensive staff. They're just doing something that could very, very easily be automated. So if we can improve that experience in store and improve the cost for the retailer, then hopefully there's something beneficial from that. So here are some more helpful stats here. If you make the click and collect experience good, people are 4 times more likely to return to that store. They're also more likely to buy something while they're there. There's always a debate with parcel lockers. What percentage of people that come and use the locker then also go on to buy something? And there isn't a single answer, unfortunately. It really depends on the placement in the store, the category, how well merchandised your store is. I used to work in the Pudo world, in the pick-up, drop-off, convenience store world, and we used to quote a figure of about 50%. 50% of the people that went to a convenience store to pick up or drop off a parcel would also pick up something there. But those are fairly low-value transactions. You might buy milk, or you might buy a ready meal or a bottle of wine to have with dinner that evening, or a lottery ticket. But with other stores, it's more difficult to prove. If these things aren't quite so spontaneous in terms of the purchasing, it's hard to put a figure on it. But it definitely happens. And even when people are going in to make a return, you can make a return at a parcel locker in under 10 seconds. You've still got about a 1 in 6, 1 in 7 chance of capturing that person to do something else while they're there. And we also know, and this we do have solid data on, is that customers love using the locker. It's kind of addictive. Once you've done it once, people want to do it again and again and again. You've really, really found a pain point that you can, with investment, take away. Too fast, too slow? Thank you for somebody I know is a fluent English speaker, so that's really not helpful, is it? It's an international audience here, and I'm trying to be inclusive. And you put anyway. Fine, we'll move on. So here are some examples of our customers. We picked these from France because we're a French company, and Decathlon trialed with us, and now they've rolled out lockers to every single one of their stores. And this is now a global strategy for Decathlon, is to put parcel lockers in every single store. And primarily, this is for people that have all bought from decathlon.com online and then going to the store to pick up their purchase. Again, and I was shocked by this, a huge percentage of them then go into the store and buy something else. Maybe you've bought your trainers, your football kit online, and then you realise you need socks or you need a jacket or whatever. You go in and buy something else. Auchan supermarket, once again, freeing up that space and making that store a destination for your weekly shop is really important. And if the anchor happens to be, it's a great place for me to correct my online shopping, either with pick up or drop off. They do it again. And Intermarché again, they're doing it again to differentiate. This is but the differentiation argument is going to erode over time. People are going to expect to have this facility at the supermarket. In the same way, how many supermarkets now have dry cleaners, or they used to have postal, all these additional services, get your keys cut, all these services are going to be there. I think parcel services are going to become part of the supermarket experience. Briefly mentioned Lowe's. Lowe's is what we would describe as a private network. Lowe's have purchased 1,700 lockers for their stores in the United States, and they are all about ordering online and having delivered into the locker. Pretty much every single product, and I asked this question, I said, is it because the online inventory is bigger? You get that with some stores where they might have 3,000 SKUs in the store and 30,000 SKUs online. So sometimes the only way to access the full product portfolio is through this method. No, every single product that goes into the locker is also available into the store. Has anybody been into a Lowe's store in the US? It is massive. They are 5,000, 10,000 square meter locations and bigger. If you went and needed to pick up 3 or 4 simple items to do a DIY job at home, you'll be lost in there for days. They'll have to send in rescue dogs for you, maybe bring in snacks, I don't know, but you're going to be there a long time. So if you're not used to the environment, what a great way to do it. You shop online. The online experience is actually with Lowe's is really good. It guides you. You've bought this, do you need this as well? You've bought nails, do you want a hammer? This kind of stuff. And then to simplify the pickup to a few seconds, because for some people this will be daunting. It was so successful. The condition of getting the 1,700 order was that we installed them all in 4 months. So we were putting in multiple lockers every day. So we're very experienced at building these big networks. They've now rolled it out to Canada, and they've now rolled it out to Lowe's Pro, which is where the tradespeople go. The guy that comes to fit your bathroom, he can shop online at Lowe's Pro and go up, back his van up at 7 a.m., load on everything he needs for the day and drive away. Now, what's that worth to a contractor? If he's charging you 200 euros a day, 250 a day, if he can save an hour, that's worth 30 euros to that guy to be able to pick that up from the locker and not have to go around the store. Another example from the carrier world. Everybody know who Purolator is? Not necessarily. I'm sure that yeah. So Purolator are the express carrier arm of Canada Post. So they're 91% owned by Canada Post. The name is weird. It's a portmanteau of pure oil later. They used to sell oil, would you believe, and over time have emerged into this huge parcel business. They have multiple corporate offices attached to their sorting depots across Canada. They put a parcel locker outside every single one of those sorting offices. They're manned already. There's a counter. They offer full service. Why would you put a locker outside? It doesn't really make a lot of sense. It has been hugely popular. Again, just the convenience, just another way to serve the customer. Originally, it was for failed deliveries. Purolator comes to your house, you're not in, you don't want to abandon the parcel on the porch, you don't porch piracy. They take it back to a locker instead and people come and pick it up. And that was pretty popular. Some of the locations were filling up the lockers every day. Then they switched on drop-off. So you could drop off your return or your C2C package in the locker outside the shop, outside the store, from the curb. Volumes went up 237% in 3 months as customers learned how to do this. There are locations in Canada now where these lockers are so popular, we've had to grow the installation to 4, 5, 6 meters wide, and they empty them 5 times a day. It fills up, the guy comes out, they empty it. It fills up, they empty it. But more importantly, it's been beneficial to Purolator as well. They've managed to reduce the head count, the overhead cost in every single one of these branches by 0.6 of a person. Now, 0.6 of a person doesn't sound much, but when you fully cost that out into a quasi-public sector organisation with an amazing pension scheme, it doesn't take very long to pay for a parcel locker. In fact, the ROI on this investment is sub 1 year for every single one they put in. And the final version that we have is this open locker network. So if any of you are aware, we are building a huge open locker network in the UK to mirror what we've done in Japan. We have 400 on the ground so far. We've signed 4 major global carriers, Every, who are the largest private carrier in the UK with 750, 800 million parcels a year. We also have DHL. We also have DPD, all joining the network. We also have another large American carrier who, at the moment, I'm unable to name, but their lorries are brown. So when they join us with their brown lorries, we will have 4 pretty big sources. Nobody knows who it is, right? I didn't give it away. All right. Famously turned down the chance to work with Tom Hanks on Castaway. What were they thinking? It's only a plane crash. So we have this huge opportunity. We are now connected to 1.5 billion parcels a year to come into this locker network. Now, that's amazing. That means British consumers, for these 4 huge delivery agents, can come to one location, pick up anything they've missed, drop off anything that they sent. And so this agnostic network is really key. For the carrier, this is absolutely CapEx free. We're a €1 billion organisation. We are providing the CapEx, we're building the network, and it's the Kevin Costner School of Marketing. We build it, and hopefully the parcels will come. And at the moment, the evidence is pretty good. It's going to. Every goes live on Monday, by the way. And so, just briefly on our network in Japan, 7,000 lockers in every location you can imagine. Convenience stores, grocery, pharmacy, 7-Eleven. We're in every metro station, every railway station. We actually have 4,500 lockers just in Tokyo alone, the Greater Tokyo area. That puts 95% of that population, the Tokyo population, within a 5-minute walk of one of these lockers, just 5 minutes walk away. And so you'd think, well, if you've got that kind of saturation, what happens to the density? If you put too many lockers on the ground, there's only so many parcels to go around, right? You're going to dilute it out. Well, based on these not particularly clear graphs, the exact opposite happened. When you've got a low density, people aren't familiar with the lockers. They're a rarity. You see them every now and again. You might use them occasionally. Maybe you don't even use them at all. By 2020, we had 3,800 in Tokyo, and the usage rate went up because they're ubiquitous. They're everywhere. And now, instead of it being a trip to the post office or a trip to an industrial area where the carrier happens to have the sortation hub and it's 15 kilometers away and the wind is blowing sideways and there's snow on the streets, you can literally have something right outside your apartment building, right outside where you work, right outside your grocery store. And now it's hyper convenient. It's no more effort to use that than to go somewhere else. And that's why the usage has gone up. We actually imagined when we built this network that the majority of the parcels would be coming from failed delivery. We expected the majority of being, while you were out, we call it in the UK, we call it carding, being carded. You come to that dreaded card that says you were out, so we've gone and done something else. That's what we imagined would happen. Flat out wrong. Absolutely flat out wrong. 60 to 70% of all the parcels that go through that locker network are dropped off by consumers. And interestingly, they're not returns. Now, in Japan, the return rate for consumer goods is around 1%. In some other everyone's packing their bags. They're thinking about sushi. This is a great place. I'm going to move my business. It's a great idea, but it's literally 1%. For cultural reasons, Japanese don't like to return things, and this has been explained to me numerous times. Either you're saying, I made a mistake, and as a British person, I understand deeply how difficult that can be, or you're saying to your supplier, there's something wrong with what you sent me. It's of poor quality or a bad fit or anything else. So culturally, it's not a good look to try to make a return. So they don't. So there is a huge resale market for pretty much brand new goods. And the C2C market is what's driving this network. And the other reason for doing it is Yamato, our JV partner out there. We have 4 carriers now. We have Sagawa, Japan Post, Yamato, and DHL. We even have Amazon product going through the lockers as well. The reason that the lockers are so popular is it's anonymous. You don't have to tell the person where to ship it to. The seller doesn't have to admit where they're shipping it from. They've built this complete peer-to-peer anonymous service. So it goes from locker A to locker B, No one loses any face. Nobody has to admit they bought the wrong shoes. Everybody leaves happy. So it's become incredibly popular. So interestingly, we see this huge C2C growth in Europe, driven by Vinted and all these other kind of peer-to-peer trading platforms. Partly driven by environmental factors, partly driven by this kind of this commercial approach. But we saw it coming from Japan. It genuinely was big in Japan first. That was an Alphaville gag. If anybody is a big 80s music fan like me, probably the only German band to ever had in the UK, apart from, of course, Nena. 999 Luftballon. That's it. That's the only one. Oh, Kraft. Well, did they ever hit though? Yeah, well, a little bit. All right, I'll give you that. Kraftwerk, very good. He's even older than me, by the way. That means, right. So we are now in a very privileged position. We have a huge population of lockers and a huge customer base. Go and do some market research. And if anybody wants these slides, don't have to photograph them. They're public information. You can have them afterwards. In fact, if you're interested in this slide in particular,
it is now 4:25. Please prepare for your next one-to-one meeting on the stand of the sponsor you have a meeting with.
So if you want more detail on this, just come and find us afterwards, and we're happy to share more detail. There's nothing secret here. So 98% of customers that are dropping off into the locker are satisfied. And we've broken out the reasons why they're satisfied, and we've broken out the reasons why they're dissatisfied. But 98% is a pretty decent NPS. Most of the reasons for the dissatisfaction are broadly around unavailability. Either it's not where I wanted it to be, i.e. give me more, or when I got there it was occupied or was out of use, so give me more again. So capacity is the number one issue driving dissatisfaction in Japan. There's some stuff about, is it clean enough, and it was too complicated. I mean, the 2% of the 2% that found it too complicated, I mean, have you seen the bell curve for IQ, right? I'm not saying anything. They're not complicated. They're very, very, very easy to use. But I always imagine if my mum was standing in front of it, she's still alive, everybody. I'm not that old, but it's that for me, that's the benchmark of ease of use. These are really easy to use. But we were incredibly heartened by this. For the pickup experience, it's actually 99.1% satisfied, or great, or more than satisfied with the pickup experience, because obviously you're not hitting the capacity issue there. Where you're only going to be asked to come pick it up if it's gone into the locker. So what's our pitch to retailers today? Well, we need more locations. Fundamentally, we need more places to put lockers. We need cool locations to put lockers in. Hopefully, we've established that having lockers as a drop-off location for your own returns in store is a good idea. But also, what about if you could drive additional footfall by making some lockers available in our open network? So we've come up with this kind of hybrid model where we would provide a locker at zero or very, very low cost to place in store, make part of it available for the exclusive use of the host, of the retailer, wherever it's gone, and part of it used in our open network. So where you would maybe we would normally have to pay rent for a location, we trade that rent against use for the other side. And we will drive footfall. Now, as we said before, it's very, very arbitrary to say what footfall you'll drive, but a typical locker would have 40 transactions a day. And if we can drive 25 people into the store and they spend 30 euros each, we can come up with this ludicrous sum of money. It probably is not exactly that figure, but it shows the art of the possible. If you've got a well-merchandised store and you've got something that could be a spontaneous purchase, and if only part of your product range is in that spontaneous purchase category, put it right by the locker so people make those impulse buys, make it part of the store experience, then you could definitely drive footfall and therefore revenue. But also, this is why Decathlon went ahead. Every time somebody ordered something from decathlon.com, they had to go to the customer service desk, and somebody had to go and find it. Their estimate was 6 minutes. 6 minutes to go, route through the back, find the parcel, bring it out to the customer, give them resolution. Now, it doesn't have to be a huge volume to quickly work out that you might be employing somebody literally to walk to and fro the back room with parcels all day. And maybe you still want to employ that person because it's half a person, but wouldn't they not be better advising somebody on a bicycle or to buy some sports equipment or to take an account card, loyalty card out, or enhance their purchasing opportunity? This is a waste of everybody's time. The customer is more satisfied when they're able to do this transaction in an automated way, but also they will have a more positive attitude towards the store and hopefully go on to buy something else. And they're so convinced they've gone further. And if you see right at the very end there, those white doors, they're also now opening up part of the locker installations to this multi-carrier concept. So thinking, well, if other people are going to come in and have it, even if they bought from a competitor, especially if they bought from a competitor, I come into the store, I have a great experience at the locker, this has been a great deal for me, I'm in the store, I'm looking around, I might leave with something else. It's a win-win for everybody. It's almost obligatory now to make a comment about the environment. I'm at the age where I remember when we used to pretend to care about this, but now we genuinely do care about it. It's absolutely mission critical that we drive the carbon dioxide emissions down in the country, across the world, and it does genuinely make a contribution. If we can do 20 parcels from a locker rather than 20 individual home deliveries, common sense says you're going to drive less distance. Now, why is it, this is obviously, in itself, this is an important argument to make. But from a carrier's point of view, CO2 emissions and costs are inextricably linked. Most of their CO2 emissions are from fuel. And what they would rather use less fuel and do fewer stops. So there is it's not just doing it because it's the right thing. It genuinely is the right thing, but there's a bottom line impact as well. If you can start driving out fuel consumption from a parcel delivery operation, you're going to hit your carbon neutral target more quickly, but you're also going to save a load of cost. And there are many other ways that they try to reduce CO2 that's costing them money, replacing the fleet with electric, etc. In the meantime, all that's got to be done, but in the meantime, this is part of the journey to get there. So we talked about, just to recap on these three kind of business models again. Private network. In this private network where the locker is only benefiting the retailer, we sell them. We sell, lease or rent, but they are an asset that is owned by that organization. So we have that model. And then on the far right-hand side, we have the open network, like we're building in the UK. We don't sell those lockers, we own them, we install them, we maintain them, we manage them, and we're kind of lockers as a service provider to multiple carriers, if you like. It sits on our P&L, our capex, our depreciation, and most of the risk, all of the risk sits with us. Now, depending on the commercial deal, we try to mitigate that risk by either renting part of the locker or we're doing it per parcel. And then we have the hybrid model in the middle where there's a combination of half of it is specifically used by the host and half of it becomes part of our open network and extends our reach and in-store experience. And we think it benefits everybody. The consumer, the retailer, and the carrier all ultimately benefit from this as well. And if we can make the carrier and the retailer more closely intertwined, increase this drop density, increase the number of parcels that are being picked up and dropped off in one location, so the van stops once and is half empty, doesn't have to stop 50 times, then hopefully we can genuinely unlock this environmental benefit as well. So everybody will win in the end. But ultimately, right in the middle of it all, we genuinely think is a fantastic customer experience. So you can do everything all in one go. We were very pleased to come and present today, not just because you've been lovely and everything, but we are launching a brand new product today, which is this Dropbox printer module. Now, this has been specifically designed about returns as well. So everyone you've probably heard about talking about a label-less parcel. There's no such thing as a label-less parcel. All you're doing is moving the responsibility for where the label goes. In the bad old days, retailers would ship a return label out with the parcel. Now, even with a 20% return rate, that still means 80% of those labels are going into landfill. So there's cost. I think I saw a figure from Nike. It cost them 15 cents to produce each label. So if four of them are going in the trash for every one used, that's actually 75 cents, for each label, which is a huge amount of money for something that is ultimately not needed. At the same time as you got that pressure, fewer and fewer consumers have printer on their desks at home. Everyone's shopping from their phone, shopping from a tablet, and the number of people that have access to a printer every day, particularly with hybrid working, you might be able to sneak into work and print it off at work, but even that's going. So with lower and lower and lower access to printers, the responsibility for getting the parcel on the label is being shifted down the line. For the carriers to do it's possible, but it's expensive and complex. They have to print them in the depot and bring them out. So what we've decided to do as an organisation is to take responsibility for that, and we put the label printer right in the locker. It's ruggedized, it's industrial, it works from -20 centigrade to +60 centigrade, indoor and outdoor, and you can come along with your return authorization code, QR code, scan it, and get a high quality 6x4 PDF label print straight from the locker and stick it on your package. And then we've also built the drop box. You see on the right-hand side there, the big door is open with a little door above it. Anything under 100 mil thick, i.e. a typical small parcel by Royal Mail, USPS definition, or bagged fashion or anything like that that can fit in there, gets posted in the slot securely, the slot closes and it drops into the cavity underneath. So in the space where there would normally be, say, 2, 3, 4 lockers, we can take 10, 15, with small bagged fashion items, possibly 30 parcels in the same space. So we get huge throughput in a much smaller physical footprint in the store. The main argument against having a locker in the store is it takes up too much space. And that big decathlon installation you saw is like 7 meters long, 600 mil deep. We're trying to reduce that down, and this is what we're talking about today. So in this 2-column system here, this is an outdoor version with a roof. Normally that would have a maximum of 31 doors. And so therefore you could probably handle 20, 25 parcels a day, because you never want to fill it completely. You don't want customers making all the effort to get to the locker and then be turned away. With the collection box and the printer at the locker, we think this can probably process more like 50, maybe even 60 parcels per day. You have 20 regular doors and 2 drop boxes that can take 10 to 30 lockers each. Again, don't worry about photographing the slides. Come get a brochure from the stand. Come and get a full spec sheet. This is all public information, so whatever you need. Unless you're from InPost, then you can just jog on. Okay, so what we hear back is this lack of space, too much capital expenditure, losing that customer touch point. Everybody prefers home delivery. We can't fix all of those, but we genuinely feel with it, we've got a combination of features in the product, different business models that we can offer. We can really start to approach those. Personally, the hardest one to tackle is the one at the end. If you live in a country with a good delivery mechanism, why would you choose to go to a locker instead? If you've got good delivery to home, and if you're from the Nordics, that's not always the case because it's not the norm in every country to have home delivery. But for many of us, home delivery is absolutely normal. And why would you give it up? But then I've got to get rid of my return. And that's why we've really focused our attention on this drop-off piece. I think that's the behavior that people will change first. And if they have a good experience at the locker, and you make it hyper convenient, you do huge density, you put it where people are or where people want to be, you don't make it a destination, then you start to think, well, actually, I know I'm at the office all week. Why am I going to even pretend to have home delivery? I'm going to get the dreaded card, and I'll do the right thing by the environment and have it sent to the locker straight away. So we hopefully, I'll have convinced you that we've thought about many of the major issues and how to tackle them. And that's pretty much it. We have much more delightful people than me here to meet. Katya is on the stand with me if you would come over to C85. If you are a retailer or you've got proper space that can be accessed by the public of any kind, we'd love to talk to you. Come and have a chat and see if we can help you. Conversely, if you've got an in-store problem with processing click and collect or processing returns, and we're interested in how we can make that automated, potentially CapEx free, then again, we're here to have that conversation. That is 35 minutes out of 45. I know it seems longer, but that's literally all it was. Have you heard the joke, if you're diagnosed with a terminal illness, you should immediately marry an economist. You won't live any longer, it'll just seem like you have.
Fantastic presentation by Gary. And just a couple of jokes thrown in, but fantastic presentation. And I want to comment that, I've been involved. I got dragged into the returns world. I was a happy sales guy once upon a time, and then they dragged me into the returns world at Philips. So for 25 years, I've been telling people there is not one solution that works for everybody. So show of hands here, we're going to do a survey for Gary. I'm sure everyone here has bought online. That's an automatic. And how many of you have returned online products? That's going to be most of you, right? Okay. Now let's take the other survey. How many of you have had a delivered product stolen from the front porch? That's the quiet number. That's the quiet number that lockers become addictive for, because in the United States, we're afraid to talk about the numbers. I'll give you an example. The academics that we work with say it's somewhere between 50 million and 200 million packages a year are being stolen. The estimate is in New York City alone, somewhere over 1 million plus a month are being stolen. So, Gary, you haven't talked much about that, but clearly a solution to stolen returns here
personally,
is the one.
I hear you, but this is just from my experience, a slightly more North American problem. It's not always front of mind in Europe in quite the same way. In the UK, we are kind of comfortable. The majority of us are comfortable with having a parcel left with a neighbour. Now that's not common in every market. Now I detest my next door neighbour, but they will take a parcel in. I'll say that for them. They will take a parcel in, and more often than not, they'll tell me they have it, which is a bonus as well. So, but it's not in every culture. So
Right.
I hear you with the porch piracy thing, but it's not the driving European. Am I incorrect? Is anybody? It's not the driving issue. We don't have.
You don't have many.
We don't have porches in the same way. But yeah.
And questions. We are prepared for a few questions. Microphone handed over here.
Hi, Joost Buck from Kabloo. Thank you for your story first. The only thing I was questioning, because I believe this is the future, and that if once you know apps, hey, you are probably within an app or a code or whatever, you can open it.
Yeah.
But can you tell something about the hurdle for still afraid, hey, maybe my customers find this scary, because if you want to go to something like this with returning in your stores, you wanted to make 100% this, probably. Say you have to use it. Can you tell something about the people or about stories that you say, hey, this could be a hurdle, for my mother, for example, or how difficult that is?
I get you. So when I took this role on originally, we were going to distribute our own app. We were going to make a Parcel Pending or a Quadient app and try to persuade consumers to download it to give them access to the locker. That's incredibly difficult to do. Even the DPD app in the UK. DPD is one of the most successful carriers in the UK, most technology advanced, definitely the most, best, probably one of the best customer experiences. Their app has been downloaded 11 million times. So that means 4 out of 5 times an adult does not have the DPD app. So for us to compete, to try to get our app downloaded by millions of people was incredibly expensive. It's not going to work. So we've done it. We've gone the hard way, and we have a full back-end integration with the carriers. So we take all of their responsibility from the smartness of it away from the consumer and put it in the back end. So all you have to be able to do is hold your phone in front of the barcode scanner and let us read the barcode, either QR or 1D barcode. And even if you can't do that, let's say you're rocking a Nokia 6310, because you're still driving the Mercedes with the cradle. I'm not saying anything. That's not me, obviously. We'll send you the PIN number as alphanumeric. If you can key in your PIN number for your bank card, you can key in your PIN number on the locker and retrieve your parcel. Now, admittedly, on our mystery bell curve, there will still be some people that are uncomfortable with that. I haven't got a mobile phone. I haven't got anything. You can't be 100%. Where it's going in the future, I'm determined we'll have NFC in this locker in a short period of time. I bought a ticket in the US from Ticketmaster. It was downloaded, put it in my Apple Wallet, and I'm looking for the QR code on the ticket to have it scanned at the venue. Now, it came with a digital token that's downloaded into my phone. I held my phone next to the phone of the guy at the venue, and he lets me in. No barcode, no scanning, nothing. So soon, we won't be enabling somebody through a code. We'll be enabling an individual via their smartphone to be able to do the necessary interaction with the locker. Even to the point where I think, I'd like the wallet, when you put the boarding card in your wallet, it knows you got the flight today, so it has it ready on the home screen. How about when I'm within 100 meters of the locker, my digital token appears on my home screen, so it tells me, are you going to pick your parcel up today? Here is the directions to the locker. I think there's more we can do, and I think that's the future iteration for me. But I'm a geek, okay? So about a month ago, it was the 50th birthday of the barcode. It was 50 years since the first barcode was scanned. How many other technologies survive 50 years? Eventually we're going to evolve ourselves away from it, and we're going to come up with something that's smarter.
Great. One more?
I'm genuinely petrified now.
No, great presentation, Gary, and great pitch to merchants on
I can't hear. I'm sorry. The only person I can't
you
hear.
You got headphones. Super stick there.
Thanks.
I was just saying, great presentation, Gary. Really good pitch, and the message to a merchant of I can give you a free locker for your store. You can do your own click and collect or returns in that locker, and I'm going to give you new footfall. Seems like a total no-brainer to me, because why wouldn't you? And you mentioned space as a challenge. but I know as well as you do, like, it's really hard to get locker networks out. Like, what are the main things you hear from merchants about why they can't take lockers, and what is your counter to that? I mean, you mentioned space. Is there any other things you hear, and what do you say to kind of counter those challenges?
I'm taking it off not because I'm bored of listening to you, but I can't concentrate. So space is a big issue, and this is a relatively new concept for us. We haven't told 1,000 people about you can have free lockers and we'll fix this problem for you. So which is why we spent money to come here, which is why we want to meet people here to put the offer on the table, in effect. I think a lot of retailers have very long decision-making processes. They think in seasons. They definitely won't do anything new in the quarter running up to peak. The store design is locked down for 3 or 4 years. I think there's some things about the appearance, not just even if you free up the space. What does it look like when it comes in there? If it looks so it's industrialized, we've got a light locker that's battery powered. It's not the most attractive product. It's very low cost. It's very functional. Does a great job, but it doesn't necessarily fit in with that 21st century view of what a retail space ought to look like. So that's why we kind of, if you could pick a thread of some of the locations that have adopted them, DIY, sporting goods, convenience, grocery. These aren't the Chanel store or the Louis Vuitton boutique. They're slightly more utilitarian environments where they don't look out of place. So I think in the evolution, maybe we need to get a bit better at that, of really thinking about, this is not just an experience that seems great as from a perspective of a parcel nerd like me, but this is an experience that fits in with my brand and the total holistic experience that I want to give my high-end customer. So I think there's a bit of that, but 90% of it's space. If I give you that 2 meters there, what am I going to take out and what am I going to lose that I would have sold on that 2 meters there? So places that have got a lot of space, nobody tells you I've got tons of space. Even when we go into Lowe's, you could land a jumbo jet in a Lowe's and probably not knock the shelves over, and they're still going, well, we're really squeezed for merchandise space here. And I grew up in a town smaller than this. I said shit, sorry. Oh, damn, I said it twice.
All right, I think we've about run out of time, Gary. You've covered so much ground and so many great ideas and solutions. I hope you'll all take some of that back with you. And again, one more time, a round of applause for Gary and the presentation.